Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. Now, many of you may be interested in learning about the brain. Perhaps you're interested in its structure, or how neurological disorders work, or the way the brain is affected by different chemicals. But maybe the prospect of reading textbooks filled with scientific jargon just seems very overwhelming. So if that's you, don't worry. The following series of videos are just for you. I'll be summarizing each chapter from BrainFacts, which is a digital textbook and companion publication to brainfacts.org. So let's dive right into Chapter 1, Brain Basics, Part 1. Major landmarks of the brain. So looking at Figure 1, we can see the side view of a brain. In neuroimaging, scientists call this the sagittal view. The part highlighted in yellow is the largest part of the brain, and it's called the cerebrum. The cerebrum is divided into a right and left hemisphere, which are connected by a bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. We can see the corpus callosum in Figure 2, which shows a slice of the brain front on. This perspective is also called the coronal view. The surface of the cerebrum is a deeply folded layer of nerve tissue called the cerebral cortex. The folds create more space to pack in more neurons, increasing the brain's processing power. So one way to remember what the cortex is the fact that the word cortex is Latin for bark, like tree bark. So this indicates that the cortex is the outermost layer of this brain. Now the cortex can be divided into four main lobes. The frontal lobe coordinates voluntary movements and speech. It is also responsible for memory, emotion, and higher cognitive skills like planning and problem solving. If you guys are familiar with the story of Phineas Gage, you would also know that a part of the frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex, is also associated with an individual's personality. Next, the parietal lobe sits on top of the brain and behind the frontal lobe. It integrates sensory signals from external stimuli, and it's also important for attention and spatial awareness. The occipital lobe is located on the back of the brain. It helps process visual information, which allows us to recognize colors and shapes. And then finally, we have the temporal lobes, which are found on the sides of the brain. They interpret auditory information. So one easy way to remember that is that, well, they're close to the ears. Now, beneath the temporal lobe is the limbic system, which is a set of structures that regulate emotion and motivation. So some of the most important regions include the hippocampus, which is a curved structure that encodes new memories, the amygdala, which integrates memory and emotion, the thalamus, which integrates sensory information, and then the hypothalamus, which sends hormonal signals to the rest of the body through the pituitary gland. So the important thing here is to remember that the limbic system is inside the brain, under the cortex. Now, what I've just covered are all part of the forebrain, which itself is one of the three major sections of the brain. So we also have the midbrain, which sits beneath the thalamus. Its main functions include coordinating eye movements and trigger reflexes to sounds, and inhibiting unwanted body movements. And then finally, we have the hindbrain, which is responsible for sleep and movement control. It contains the cerebellum, which is like a smaller version of the cerebrum. The cerebellum coordinates voluntary movements, and it helps the brain learn new motor skills. It also has roles in spatial and temporal perception. The hindbrain is also comprised of the pons for breathing and posture, and the medulla, which carries nerve pathways to connect the brain with the spinal cord, and it also helps control basic functions like breathing. So this is it for a basic introduction of the major landmarks of the brain. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.